The Toys to Life subgenre for sure has to be one of the most ingenious marketing schemes I've ever seen in my entire life. Because somehow they managed to convince me that I needed to buy all of these. And looking back on it now, I regret it sincerely. Look at these things. I don't know what to do with them all. Could have bought a car with all that money. Or more Skylanders. This right here, this is my retirement fund. I should probably get started with the video. I have no one to blame but myself. Skylanders is a series that I'm sure you would have heard of by this point, whether it be from the personal experience of playing it for yourself, or having your friend not shutting up about how he got his hands on the brand new Doomstone. He's got Doomstone, dude! It pioneered the short-lived Toys to Life genre, in which you're given a base of sorts, it being a portal for the Skylanders series, and can place figures onto it to transport them into the game for you to play as. I find it so interesting that they managed to trick so many of us into buying completely unneeded DLC, but it was okay because it was physical, and you got a cool little toy out of it. I mean, at least they do more than amiibos. You could always tell how much cred someone had based on how many Skylanders they have decorating their TV cabinets. I guess you didn't need all the characters to play the game though. All they did was give you a new Skylander to play as. You can beat the game easily with the 3 they gave you, but effectively the more you bought, the more lives you had, and if you end up with this many, it gets to the point where you don't even have to worry about dying since there's 0 penalty. Plus, they were backwards compatible, which means you could still be using 1st gen Skylanders in the 3rd game, which is honestly insanely awesome. There was just no greater feeling at the time than bringing home a new Skylander to slam onto that portal. I remember the very first extra Skylander I ever bought was Dinorang here, and whenever any of my 3 mains died, I busted out this bad boy. With Skylanders obviously not being a particularly riveting name, Toys for Bob, the company behind the series, used Spyro to market and launch the first game. But just like my Club Penguin girlfriend, dropped him as soon as they were done with him. Spyro's adventure doesn't even have all that much to do with Spyro. The only Spyro things in there, as far as I'm aware, are Spyro himself, Cinder, and Sparks, who got a, much needed redesign. And as the games went on, Spyro became less and less prevalent as Spyro fans got more and more pissed off. Thank God for the Reignited trilogy, huh? I mean, it wasn't even Spyro's adventure, it was Trigger Happies and Gill Grunts and Prism Breaks and Terrafins and Eruptors. I really loved the characters back when I used to be super into the games, as basic as they honestly are. Every new installment to the series introduced a whole bunch of new characters, with some returning and some being completely forgotten because no one cares about Rubble Rousey, fucking weirdo. Each of them had their own backstories and character traits, but of course having a cast this big came at the cost of stunted creativity. Upon reading some of these, which yes, what else do you think I do in my spare time, reveals that they're more or less just copy-pasted, especially the further into the series you go. I guess they basically just made any average Joe with a slightly tragic backstory into a Skylander. It didn't take much to qualify. I don't know, I guess I just had a thing for series with gratuitously large casts. I bet you I can still name basically every single one of these guys. Thank you, brain. You got Gill Grunt, smaller Gill Grunt, Double Trouble, and then Double Trouble again. Why do I have 2 of these guys? Bumblebee, of course, Crash Bandicoot, Groot, and of course, my favorite Skylander, Boot. The same can be said about the names though. You got Bash, because he bashes things, and Zap, because he zaps things, and Boomer, because he hates his wife. But they were serviceable characters for a young child hell-bent on collecting every single one of the damn things, with each Skylander belonging to one of the series' 8 elements.
Hey, I'm on fire!
Collecting them was just so damn satisfying, as was having this massive army sitting next to your portal as you played. God, as much as I regret it now, I just loved having them. Unless you accidentally dropped one and broke it so you could only use the base, but I mean, what kind of idiot would do that? And I have this poster too. I have no idea why. It's literally a giant advertisement. The plot of the first game is as follows. You live in a place called Skylands, which is basically a whole bunch of floating islands with all kinds of weird-ass creatures running around. A group called the Skylanders protects these islands, serving as essentially an army against the one single villain in the entirety of the universe, some kid named Kaos. You act as a portal master, who has the power to teleport these guys anywhere across Skylands. Your task is to locate the Skylanders and bring them back home after Kaos expelled them using magic or some shit, I don't know. So, basically, if you don't buy the toys, they die. Have fun with that guilt, kid. The games had a pretty great cast, such as Flynn, who was the greatest Chad of all time, who was blessed with a magical voice.
Hey, don't worry about all that, Hugo. That Sky Eater thingy will probably eat us all first.
Callie, who tags along on your adventure and gives you extra missions to do that I could never beat. Oh, and Hugo, who is scared of sheep. That's his character. And the hub worlds are awesome too. In the first game, you made camp at the ruins of the Core of Light and got to see it slowly be restored as you completed more levels, as well as harassing the inhabitants. In Giants, you were on a ship, which really made it feel like you were on a journey as you returned there to resupply after each level. I forgot what happened in Swap Force, so. My biggest problem with the games though, me being super into Skylanders lore at the time, I mean I read and owned all the books, what can I say, was that Kaos was the villain every single time. There was no variety in terms of the reasoning for why the Skylanders had to assemble. It was just Kaos being Chaos. I do recall one of the DS ports had a different villain, but I never got to play that. And Trap Team sorta introduced a whole bunch of mini-bosses, but they were all working under Chaos, so that doesn't even count. You think after a while they just fucking kill him or something. I do like how each game got progressively crazier with his final boss fight though. Imaginators turned him into a Super Saiyan, like straight up just a Super Saiyan, which is so damn cool. I have to say, playing Skylanders before I watched it, Chaos made watching Invader Zim enter the Florpus quite difficult.
You're gonna have to speak up! You won't get away with this! What? You won't get away! What? You won't get away! What? You won't get away! What? You what?
Because the whole time, I could only picture him and his disgustingly large head. The gameplay isn't necessarily anything revolutionary. It's a basic beat 'em up with some puzzle elements that can go die, and you make your way across Skylands to thwart whatever Chaos's evil plan is that week. Most of the fun was upgrading your characters and getting new attacks you could spam, and each Skylander had a ton of upgrades you could get that would keep you playing for a while. It was all fun and games until you focused all your XP on one character, and then had to rely on the shitty level 1s when they finally died. Even though single player is an option, I never got around to playing it. I mean, I can't see it being very fun, to be honest. I'm lucky enough to have a brother, so we were able to blaze through the game together, but that also meant that 99% of the game was spent trying to kill each other. One thing that always irked me though, you can't jump. I never realized how important a jump button was until Skylanders didn't have one. And because of that, I realized I hate games where it won't let you jump. Swap Force was the first game to add this, but by that point the damage had already been done. We're through Skylanders. I can't believe you do this to me. The series' massive success would also end up being its greatest downfall, however. They pumped out so many of these games in such a short time, it was like once a year. 6 games across 6 years, each with a new gimmick. They're Skylanders, but they're big. They're Skylanders, but you can mix and match them. They're Skylanders, but they have, traps. They're Skylanders, but cars. And then Imaginators, like, let you make your own. I think, I don't know, I stopped playing at Swap Force, and I didn't really get all that far into that game before I kind of grew out of it. Although it doesn't help that I own the Wii version, which is pretty much unplayable. Look at that frame rate, no. The games are pretty damn great though, at least the first 2 that I played to completion. They were hours and hours of fun, with or without having millions of dollars worth of plastic to play as. One thing I can say about these Toys to Life games is that they do seem to have quite a bit of creativity and love put into them, to justify that very steep price point. I still want my money back though. Imaginators was released in 2016, being the latest game in the series, and as you can imagine, it didn't sell nearly as well as the first couple games. So they got off that sinking ship when the trend stopped being popular, and we sadly haven't had a new game since. Rest in peace, Toys to Life games. You were murdered due to oversaturation in only a 6-year period. It was still a kid. It was so young. The same thing happened with the likes of Guitar Hero and the Revenge meme. The creators realized something is popular, and so instead of savoring the moment and releasing them slowly so that we all have time to appreciate each new installment, they just make as many of them as they can and shove them down our freaking throat until we can't take it anymore. You know what you did, Captain Sparkles. You know. So now the series is a cartoon on Netflix called Skylanders Academy, where Crash Bandicoot sounds like this.
Alright, who's the drongo trying to get one over on old Crash, eh?
It's alright. Much like with anything popular, the success of Skylanders prompted a whole bunch of similar games from companies who wanted a piece of that gazillion dollars Activision had on Earth. From that, we got Disney Infinity and Lego Dimensions, 2 pretty strong contenders for Skylanders' reign. There were a couple others, but I don't care. Since the developers of the other games didn't want to make up a million new characters like with Skylanders, Disney just threw in every property that they owned, and later added Marvel and Star Wars characters into the mix. But Lego decided to one-up them by throwing in every character ever made. I talked about Lego Dimensions briefly in a video I did a while back on crossovers, with how incredible it was to have so many characters from different franchises coming together like this. Dimensions looked like an amazing game that sadly came a little too late into the Toys to Life war, with it being released at the tail end of its popularity. Also, I never got to play it, and to this day I still debate whether or not it's worth emptying my entire bank account just to get the sets I want. I don't need it, But I want it. I never owned Infinity, but I did have the pleasure of getting to dick around in the first game's creative mode for a bit at a friend's house. It was kind of like Little Big Planet in terms of the creative freedom, but more open world and with Perry the Platypus and Jack Skellington running around everywhere. I am kind of glad though that I didn't end up buying them because then I would have had to mortgage my house. Of course though, the popularity of Skylanders and the Toys to Life genre eventually faded. And now you can find a whole bunch of unloved toys sitting in boxes for super cheap prices at your local GameStop or EB Games, mixed in with some unwanted Mr. Incredibles and Jack Sparrows. And that, my friends, is the tale of Skylanders. It's a series that I absolutely love that still has a very special place in my heart, but not in my wallet. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to check me out on Twitter and send stuff to my PO box if you want your package opened in a video. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. So does anyone, like, want these or...